Hey everyone, and welcome to An Eventful Life with Brad Cox and Shane Buzzer. I'm Brad.
And I'm Shane.
An Eventful Life is the podcast where we take you on a journey through eventful lives of inspirational event leaders from around the world.
That's right, Brad. We'll be sharing their stories, impact, and insight into the complex world of events. So if you like these stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your mates.
This is An Eventful Life. G'day Shane, how are you mate?
I'm good, Brad. How you doing?
Yes, very well. Good to see you again. Another busy day, I assume, in the life of Blue Event Productions.
It sure has been. What about yourself?
Yeah, mate, absolutely flat out. So it's certainly all happening at the moment.
Yeah, sure is.
Yeah.
March, April.
Any
Actually,
exciting
cut that
stories?
out. Sorry. Shouldn't say the month. Yeah.
Any exciting stories? Anything happening of interest?
Yeah, working on a big event in Seymour, actually.
Oh, Seymour. Country Victoria.
Regional Victoria. Biggest event that happens over there in Seymour. It's awesome, actually. I really enjoy being a part of it. Getting out there and getting my hands dirty. It's good. Good fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Beautiful. It's beautiful Melbourne weather today to be outside, I would have thought, in Seymour. So pouring rain, about 5 degrees, and we're in the middle of autumn. But anyway.
You got to love an outdoor event in Melbourne, right?
Totally. 4 seasons in one day. Hey, let's get into it. Today's guest is an international connoisseur and an absolute fantastic bloke. He loves to have a laugh and a drink, but is also an incredibly focused individual that has seen him rise to the top of his craft. Originally from Germany, Markus Werner is one of only a few certified master chefs in Australia and is currently the corporate executive chef of Delaware North, where he oversees the culinary experience for the Australian Open and some of the largest stadiums in the country. He has been executive chef at prestigious 5-star restaurants and hotel groups throughout Australia, Asia, Germany, and Austria. Markus has a love for motorbikes and constantly shows Shane how to succeed on the golf course, is my understanding. Would you please welcome Mr. Markus Werner? Welcome, Markus.
Thanks for having me, Brad and Shane.
That's a fair intro.
That's a massive intro, yeah.
Okay, so that's the show over.
Yeah, pretty much. No, there's plenty more to talk about. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my golf did not improve since we played last.
You know what? That was a while ago.
All right, let's keep the golf stories off this one. So we'll be here all day about who's better and who's not. But I'm up next, that's for sure. Hey, mate, let's get straight into it. I understand, and as I said in the intro there, you grew up in Germany, a country that's known for its love of food and a celebration. What are some of your earliest memories of food, and where did the original passion come from for yourself?
The original, it comes from, we've been actually a relatively small family for Germany, but every weekend my mother was an amazing cook, and we had cousins and uncles, and so there was never a table less than 15 people on a Sunday lunch, and that's where actually the celebration of food coming from, you know. I'm not necessarily was straight away helping mom a lot, I must be honest. I was more
what kid does.
I was more outside playing and doing all these things what you normally do as a young fella, and really enjoyed then this company of celebration of food, and my father and we started lunch at 12 o'clock and we left the table at 3, you know, just to come back to have coffee at 4 or so. It was always really a massive celebration.
Yeah, great. I mean, I don't know about you, Shane, but I've certainly been to a few German celebrations, and they generally do start at lunchtime and finish way, way, way beyond the sun going down.
I was going to say 3 o'clock's one of the more conservative times I would have thought. Or did you mean AM? Is that what you
AM,
meant?
probably, yes.
Yeah. That sounds more like
So
it.
it was your mum that sort of gave you that early influence to food? Is that sort of where that sort of passion eventually grew from?
Correct. And my mum was also working in Switzerland a little bit. She was not really chef, but she was working in different areas. So she had a lot of, for the country town where I came from, a lot of different cuisines as well. And that probably triggered also the interest to very early I wanted to travel. That was really the big thing for me.
Yeah, great. And so where did your professional life start then? Sort of you grew up, at home there with the family, but where did you go, okay, this is what I want to do for my career, and how did it all kick off?
Yeah. I left... school was not really for me, so I left school really, really early. So and I went straight for an apprenticeship because all I wanted to get out and see the world. And then I thought, as a chef, that's where you can go anywhere you like. So I went to a very small restaurant. It called if you're translating it, like a hunting restaurant where the hunters will go out shooting ducks, shooting venison, and
Oh wow.
wild
awesome.
boar, bring
That's
it back.
so good.
It was not so awesome when you're an apprentice there because we had to preparing it and then serving it the next day. So continually, but what I learned was unbelievable. Like all these animals came in and we prepared it and we get it ready, plus our normal a la carte. So what I learned, I could have learned so much more if I wouldn't, but it was big hours, but the interest of food and the interest of, like the natural products, what the country can bring was amazing. And we had so good connections to all our suppliers and stuff. That's where it really grew. And suddenly I go like, wow, that's me.
And so the apprenticeship, how long did that last for in Germany?
It was 3 years.
Yep. Okay. Any crazy stories in the apprenticeship? Was there any sort of Gordon Ramsay style moments in?
Look, it was
in that?
Certainly tough.
Yeah,
it was certainly tough. So
did you cop it? Did you cop it?
Cop it, yeah. Also, I would be much, much better now if I would do the apprenticeship again or so. I would make sure on a Sunday morning I would have everything prepped twice, because the first time when the big boss is coming, my chopped onions was not good enough. My chopped mushrooms was not right. Jeez. So they're fluing really low in the back corner where I was standing. Next time I would have another prepped and just bring it over, but you had to chop them really fast. And it was pretty rough.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say Sunday morning you wish you hadn't have been hungover, but this is actually a proper story.
Don't get hungover at 8, mate. There's no hangover, just get going.
This was on as well. So everybody go every night out, and then in the morning you're starting to prep very early.
Okay.
And if you didn't make it, it was tough in both ways.
Do you think that dynamic that you're now talking about in your profession, that found people out, and the fact that you were able to push through that, and the education is not just about cooking, but the dynamic in the kitchen, right?
That's correct, but you certainly, with the new generation or so, I don't think it was the best way to train.
But at the time.
At the time, 100%. Under time, because you have to have the passion, you have to have the interest to push through and really to learn more and be better or so. Like, 100%. It was, and you always drive to be better, because you knew he will not be happy at 11 o'clock when the service started. So you knew you need to really be your best and be really on it. Like there was no, next time, please make it better. Now, today, now.
Yeah, and did you like the restaurant game? I mean, it's very different than what you're doing now, which we'll talk about it soon, but in terms of the restaurant process of being a chef in a restaurant and the draw, because it is very different and a bit of a unique skill set.
Correct.
Did you enjoy that process early days?
I love the restaurant game, I'll be honest. I'm really loving it. And I never lost the touch of the restaurant. So even now, if we had 90,000 people or so last week at the MCG, and you still will find me probably for half an hour on one of the restaurants on the pass or so, because even now, and it gives you a bit of buzz, it gives you, but then I thought in the catering, the larger event, I really enjoyed in the diversity. Yep. Because in a restaurant, like your menu is probably 6 months stuck a little bit where, every event is different. Every single event is different, and it runs differently, it set up differently. So I really enjoyed this part.
And Australia's a long way from Germany, where it all started.
Way.
How and when did you sort of make the move over here? Was there a reason for it? I mean, you said you love traveling. Was it like, I'm just going to Australia and that's it, and you've ended up here, or is there a bit of a story and a journey to get here?
And were you on your own, or did you come here with anyone?
I started on my own, more or less. I had a partner already from Germany, and the thing was, I really wanted to go to Asia, but as we just explained before, how tough the training was, I turned into quite a tough chef as well. And when I had my first interview with the Asian companies, I go like, nah, you have to go somewhere else first.
Oh, wow.
Really? You have to calm down. It will not work because I wanted to go to Japan, was probably my big thing or so. Like, and I go like
like a sushi chef? Or?
Not sushi chef, but they have large hotels there. I wanted to be one of the large hotels. Yep. And you have then your specialized sushi chefs, but I want to really I love their culture. I love their styles. I love this professional. They're also quite really very professional in their kitchen.
They're very polite too. So
very polite.
So any anger or
and they thought like, nah. If you fly some pans or some knives flying around the kitchen, I don't think it will cut the mustard. So they go like, go to America, go to somewhere, go to Australia. It's very good, very multicultural, and you have to calm down. So that's where my journey started. And I go like, I didn't really like America much in these days, but I thought like, I go to Australia, let's give it a go.
So, and you started in the hotel game up there. Is that the first, or was there something sort of before you ended up down that path?
Yeah, and if you think I was executive sous chef in a Hilton, and I started there as a casual because I could not speak a word.
Yeah.
And I found a German-speaking F&B manager, and he says, "I give you a go."
Well, that's the thing about hospitality. You know, it's so multicultural.
Correct.
Which it would have been great, I guess, for you to learn the Australian way from other international expats.
100%. And then they gave me a go because his owner of the hotel was an Austrian family, and they could not get proper Austrian food, and they have it every Wednesday. And this was my job every Wednesday, cook their food.
That's awesome.
And that's how I got into it. I enjoyed it, but I also, it was quite interesting because, obviously I did not understand what people are saying around me. So I realized later how much people are whinging about me. Look at this German fella standing there and just cooks this one. But I really enjoyed it. I was, when I left there, I was, a year later, I was executive sous chef when I left. Yeah. So obviously you're building your way up. I had the skills, I just couldn't talk about it. I couldn't lead the team or so. But
and was that your biggest challenge, you think, in terms of the language barrier? Was there cultural barriers or the way that things were done differently? What were some of those challenges?
The culture, the multicultural, because you're using suddenly, can you make a curry? No problem. The German curry to Australian curry is certainly totally different.
Yeah, right.
We're using curry powder and tinned fruit. So when I finish my curry, they all go like, "What are you doing here?" Just tastes nothing similar to I supposed to do a Thai curry, like a rendang or a green curry, and it just did not work at all.
Yeah. I guess. And so to fast forward a little bit. You came to Melbourne, obviously. Was it something you learnt along the way when you came to Australia about the hospitality scene in Melbourne, the quality of it, or how did that come about? Or did you just come in not knowing that maybe and learning as you went?
No. By then I knew already Melbourne probably going to be my stop in Australia.
Right.
I left in Cairns after, probably 8 years and travelled a little bit and then went to Perth for 3 years with Crown Casino.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
And then they transferred me as executive chef to the casino in Melbourne. I knew already Melbourne going to be the place I probably stay a little bit longer. Even in the tropics, we had quite regularly guest chefs coming always from Melbourne, and I knew the culture and I really missed the coffee. I came before a couple of times to Melbourne, so I've travelled quite a bit here.
And that's a big change, the job sort of taking that Crown Hotel Group on, which is a huge conglomerate here in Australia in particular, but through Asia as well. But for someone that arrived, can't speak the language, didn't know where they were going to fit, to end up effectively, executive chef of one of the largest, if not the largest hotel group here, and particularly in Melbourne with the prestige of it. As a 24-hour operation, which never stops, can you tell us a little bit about that role in particular? And, was it a big leap that you sort of took to come to Melbourne and take that role on? Were you nervous about it? Or some of the challenges maybe that, makes Crown so unique?
If you say it like this, I'm wondering why they're taking it. Look, you grow, and I certainly changed, changed totally the behavior and changed totally. I love the Asian cuisine, and I took this really quickly on. Also, when I was in Cairns is really, I had more Japanese customers probably than I would have in Japan or so maybe, because in these days, Cairns was we had 3-4 set menus, Japanese, fully Japanese cooked, and you had to get it right. And I went really right into it. So I had then this multicultural. I took it very quickly on, and I wanted to make sure the events are original. So this gives you then a good start. And when I came to Burswood Casino, what's Crown Casino now, I started in banquets there, and then I went to executive sous chef quite quickly for all the restaurants, because I knew how a good Chinese should taste like. I knew how a Japanese rice needs to be cooked or so.
And you'd mellow it out a bit from when you try to get a job in Asia, clearly. So you're able to carry it out okay.
Yeah. So if you take all these things on very quickly, then I was actually not too nervous originally when I arrived in Melbourne. I was more nervous 2 weeks later when I was here in Melbourne, going, my God, that's a big job.
Yeah, it's a huge job.
Yeah, it's a massive job.
Yeah. And was that, you say it's sort of daunting in some ways, sort of once you settle into it, but in terms of working in the restaurants and even the hotels to then being banquet chef. So, okay, now we're focused on event-specific stuff. And for our listeners in sort of interstate and internationally, Crown here in Melbourne in particular is the largest corporate space, ballroom space, function space. It has all our large major, award shows and those style of events. It's has huge expectations on it in terms of the prestige of it. How did you sort of feel going from that sort of restaurant, hotel area into banquets? And is that a big shift in itself?
It's certainly a shift, but I always wanted to make restaurant food in banquets. That was always my goal.
How did you do that?
I think just think a little bit broader and use some techniques and you have a lot of machineries around you as well. I think it was always my focus on my big thing, and even with guest chefs, use a great well-known chef and take his food and producing it for 1,500 people, and I always enjoyed it. I loved it. And the important thing for me was also, obviously you have your menu tastings and you have people coming for the big conferences and like, oh yeah, we are 2,000 people, or we coming for 3 days, and here you showed me something for one person. And so I guarantee you whatever I presented here, I can do again for 1,000, for 1,500, for 2,000. It's just really 5 chefs for 250 people.
It's pretty it's pretty ballsy though, because okay, that's your vision and that's something that you wanted to create for, the experience of your guests to have that, that restaurant meal, as you say. But you need staff and you need chefs and you need a crew together who can, really work with you and roll with that. And was that it would have been a difficult transition, but what processes or techniques did you implement to make sure that could be carried out?
Again, I probably sometimes jumping again straight into the water. So I said yes, I can do. And then you realize, I'll have to make sure that my team is on the same wagon, obviously.
Yep. And let's not underestimate that team. My understanding is about 200 people in that team for you at Crown, yeah?
Yeah.
That's huge.
Wow. Yeah. Yep. And they have to be, and obviously you're increasing it with some casuals and you're decreasing again as well. But I think it's very important as... I think I have a lot of passion and drive as well, and people can bounce off it as well. It's really important that your chef de cuisines have the same vision and go like, yes, we want to do this. And for me, it was very important when we presented something, I went to their area as well, and we played it at rough. I knew what we want to achieve, and it needs to be. I think a teamwork, I can stand wherever I want on my own. If your team is not following you, it doesn't work.
It's like anything, isn't it?
When exactly.
Correct.
It is a team, and it's your vision, it's your leadership, but
you can be only as good in the team. So obviously, I changed my style. I'm not this angry anymore. I'm much more relaxed now. And I had always luck. Really, the team 100% followed you, and there was days we were 16 hours in the kitchen because sometimes things go wrong, I thought it's going to be much quicker until we're rolling all these 1,500 roulades and did not really work. So
you moved to Delaware North in 2011, and I can remember you coming in as I was working for Tennis Australia at the time, and Delaware had been through a couple of executive chefs in quite quick succession as they were trying to change their approach to event catering, particularly with their involvement in the Australian Open. And it was one of the biggest challenges, we were all undertaking together to sort of change that experience level. And colouring offerings and expectations were on the rise, even in Melbourne, which was already known for that. Clients and guests were looking for new offerings, and there was a real focus on food at events. What are some of your earliest memories of coming to Delaware and undertaking that role to, design and deliver the experience at such a high-profile event? It's a long time ago.
Yeah, I know.
Where were we? I don't even want to know. 13 years ago or something like that we were.
Yeah.
Look, I still know the vision because I started on the 6th of December, and I think the event started on the 12th of December. No, it was a week or 2 weeks or so. Again, I'm jumping, and I jumped straight into it, and it was certainly something I've never seen before.
Yeah.
It was, again, people are managing kitchens from a desk. And I go like, how does this work?
Yeah. Get in the kitchen.
If we're not in there, how does this, I want to feel the steak. I want to see the kingfish, if it's a good quality, a bad quality. And people more also like a machine a little bit, like you just have a recipe and you're handing it out and you check your food cost and labor cost and but I don't know. I was like, that's different.
So when you started, am I right in saying that because it was only 5 weeks out, it was kind of already done, or did you have a little bit of an opportunity?
No, it was pretty much done.
Yeah,
but how it was done, I changed a lot in this short period because
it was great. It was so good.
I tell you right now, I'm jumping very quickly, and if I don't like it, I don't like it, and I will let everybody know.
Yeah. How were the people at Melbourne Park when you did come in and you wanted to make some changes to improve the experience of the Australian Open specifically, which of course is just such a major event now and was at the time as well. But did you ruffle any feathers, or what happened there? You're smiling. That's a yes.
Yes. Short answer is yes.
I would say we changed a few people very quickly. Yes.
Yeah.
And I gave them the opportunities to be part of it, and who didn't want to be part of it left.
That's what a good leader does, though. So
I think so. I think you have to really and on the other side, the ones who really go like, wow, we're loving it. They're really jumping very quickly on and supporting you extremely whatever they can, because they have similar visions, similar ideas. And I think we made really quickly changes, and really quickly I wanted to make sure that we're selling a vision here. It's not just I want to finish an event. I want to really make everybody happy there. I want there's a celebration of food. There is, there's everything, like players, everybody was happy,
totally.
It's great.
Yeah, and it was, and then taking it on to 2012 and that next year, it was a completely different offering, and it was everything.
I was there at the time.
Yeah, it was the vision that everyone had set out to achieve, and I think you were such an instrumental part in that vision. It was like, okay, how do we bring this to life? People have wanted to do it for so long, but it always had its sticking points. And I think that's testament to your leadership, and maybe a bit of that German style of sort of coming and going, we're not doing it that way. We are going to do it this way, rather than that tiptoeing around and where we get stuck in the spiraling out of control meetings. The food and beverage offerings, though, are completely different in that corporate space compared to, say, the public outlets and the offerings, which is a whole nother beast within itself that you've had to pick up. Both are important to those attending in different ways at any event. Overseeing, the biggest event spaces in Melbourne and Australia, pulls in massive crowds. You spoke about, 90-odd thousand plus at the MCG the other week. Tell us a bit about some of the strategies behind sort of selecting, designing, pricing, and delivering the cuisines to the various crowds and audiences in both those different markets, and how you've worked through that process.
For me, it's very important. Every single outlet you're going, you need to have an identity. You need to know that the people who are inside the outlets, what are you known for? If they can't have an answer and say like, this is our great product, that's what we're looking for. If it's the same with a restaurant. If I go into a restaurant and go like, I normally ask them, what are you famous for? They normally can tell you what their cuisine is, what their style is. And I think it's very important. Like I say, it doesn't matter if I go to Darwin, to the casino, or if I'm going to the SCG or to Melbourne. I think it's very important you give every single outlet an identity, and make sure you have a good mix. Obviously, in your what we said before, retail offerings, you have a good mix. And I always, year after year, I like to challenge every single outlet, every single event. As we said before as well, when this year we had chicken, next year we have maybe something a little bit more exciting, and we're working on it on styles. How can we delivering it without obviously sometimes you don't have the infrastructure, sometimes you don't have the surrounding. How can we make it to still a safe way? I mean, like, the thing is, food safety can never suffer under any ideas or so to a safe way. And I mean, I remember I had a massive outlet outside catering, and we had these beef tenderloins, and I made in the Hilton in these days or so, I made a sample after sample, and I put it in the hot box for 6 hours, for 8 hours, because I knew I had to travel for 3 hours, but I had not enough time to cooking it there, and I had no facility to cooking all these things. So I cooked it on the truck. So I had all planned up. The door needs to be this far open, so you're getting a little bit of steam through. And my tenderloin was perfect after the travel. We went there, we set up, and I served. And I think this is very important. The same with events like this. Just have a plan.
Yeah.
You know, you have an outlet, 20 minutes, and it's like if something goes wrong, it takes me 20 minutes to walk to you. So we make sure we're planning it really well in advance. What we like to offer in there, the infrastructure, everything have to be fit and have to be supporting it around.
And I guess, like, you know, for people listening to this podcast who go to the footy every week and noticing in the last few years the different offerings and you know, different vendors, but you're thinking about this, aren't you? You're thinking about, well, what is going to appeal, but also logistically, what is actually, how can we prepare all this? Am I right that these are the discussions being had?
Correct.
For each year?
I just spoke to a supplier what I want to deliver next year in March. Can we do this? Can we? Because sometimes, obviously, we said before, we're talking about 90,000 people. The supplier needs to be ready as well to starting producing this much, or to get the farmers ready to. I said, like, I want to do this because the farmers need to be ready to give me all the products, and then we're producing it and how we putting it into different outlets, into different areas.
Wow. So it's over 12 months to get into a mass stadium just in the physical produce side of things. You're planning that far out, which is not different to a lot of other things we do in events, but I guess it gets taken a little bit for grain of salt. You see the end product, and we focus so much on the service and the logistics potentially in the venues, but not so much thinking about, okay, well, has the farmer got enough to be able to deliver that year round? And can we get that onto a menu for a stadium for 12 months and so on?
Obviously, it's not with everything. No. You can get a beer or so, like it would be weird if the brewery run out of beer. I tell you right now.
We have to have an offline chat about the beers at the footy, please. You and I, but that's a whole other convo.
But I guess if you want to bring something new, or you can't just say like, oh, okay, let's bring me 2 tons of this fish, or these prawns, because they won't have it. Yeah, we need to plan this in advance, really. And again, I start quite early with. I know a lot of suppliers also. They're doing 3-4 kilos a year of certain products, and I go like, oh, I don't want to talk to you. And I said, why? Because you're so big. And go like, let's start on a small area and grow together. You know, as we said before, there's so many different food outlets. Maybe we're just using it in our French restaurant, or we're just using it in an Italian restaurant, or we're just using it in one food outlet.
So this is interesting, because this is something we really wanted to ask you about in terms of, we've seen this particularly at the tennis, but even in major events, you know, globally, we're starting to see more brands become involved in the event. So these restaurants, you know, Melbourne's known for its restaurant scene, so we're starting to see these pop-up restaurants appear at all these events. What's that process like? Does the restaurant come in and deliver? Are they just giving you the recipes? How involved do you guys get? And you're worried about your quality and your vision as well. There's so many. It's just another layer of these elements. Can you give us a bit of an idea of how that process works for you guys?
Normally, there's always different models, obviously, as well. Some brands are running it by themselves, but most of the times we get their recipes. we get their ideas, and then we delivering it in the large scale.
Yep.
I just said before, a lot of times the restaurant collapsing if they're thinking, oh my God, normally I have 20 chefs here for a 45-seater restaurant. What am I going to do? Because we take just and there then we visiting the restaurant and we take an element. I go like, this dish will not work. I can't I have to be quite honest with myself as well. So I cannot replicate this dish to serving it quick enough in a good quality
volume.
Correct.
Yep.
So there is then, but of every menu that I could do this, I can do this, I can do this.
But in terms of keeping you passionate and driven every day, what are you chasing? What sort of keeps you going every day of the week, and what does that end goal look like?
I certainly always like to change. I always like to be on it, and I have. Karen would hates me for it, but I have always every day a new idea and do something different, and so I always like to get something new created, do something new. So probably if I say tomorrow, probably I will tell you a different story. I would say probably chasing the farm and go back to the roots. I think this would be really cool. I really would love to have this one in the old days. And I always said, I just want to have a restaurant where there's 4 items written on, and this is exactly what I picked this morning. I always enjoyed it. And I always, in the events, this is going to be my next big thing, I think. Instead of brands, I would more like to promote farmers,
I love it. So you take the boy out of Germany. But
this is the carrot you pulled out, and I want to see it on a big screen on the top here, and I just grilled it for you. So this morning it was on the farm, now it's on your plate. So I would like to, I like all you celebrity chefs, don't get me wrong, but I like to go more to the product, and I really feel very heavily connected with some beef farmers. I really like to go to their farms and watching the cattle grazing. It just makes me really happy.
You're not alone, though.
That's the emotional connection, yeah? Like if you're a guest at an event and you're sitting there and you see something that was on a farm and you see the farmer that's produced it and you see that journey and it's on your plate that night, you are connected to the food in another way that you wouldn't normally experience.
Yeah. So I think there should be much more connection with and celebrate the farmers and the producers who do the right thing. I think that this needs to be celebrated much more. And then I always say, I want that the producer and the farmer is really proud of what I did out of their products. Then I feel really good.
Yeah, right. And your farm, going back to that one, would you Australia or Japan or Germany or somewhere else? If you had to pick one, where would you have it?
Australia.
Oh, there you go. Right, that's a good segue into our rapid fire question, Shane. It's your turn. Marcus, strap in. Shane, hit him up, mate.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
Okay, rapid fire questions, quick answers, and I thought I've changed it up a bit, Brad. I've thought of one on the way in, so
look out.
Okay,
even I don't know what's going on.
They're pretty easy. All right, best market in Melbourne.
Best market, South Melbourne market.
Okay, and globally?
Globally, Rocher in France.
Okay, I like it. Favorite restaurant?
Currently or right now? Aru, I think, in the moment, or Gimlet.
Now, aside from cooking for me on Steaks Day in 2013, what has been your career highlight?
Oh,
sorry again?
Career highlight, apart from when you cooked for me at the races that day.
I don't think that's in the top 5.
No,
mate.
probably
So,
not.
Great day.
That's it. He couldn't even remember it, which is fair enough. But no, what has been your career highlight so far?
I must say how we bounced back from COVID is amazing if I'm looking at now
done.
because I was really struggling mentally as well a little bit. So I thought that's it. They nearly cracked me. I had to take the uniform off and walk around because I was really. It was tough.
Oh, wow.
But I think always. Some like the IO, I think is right up there. The second one, as you said before, so 2011 was tough to go in, but 2012 I thought, Jesus, that's good. Yeah. I made a difference. I mean, I can make it better, and we made it better. But I knew already I was really proud of it.
Oh, fantastic. And the last one, which is the one I thought of on the way in.
Oh, there's 6. He's up to 6, aren't you? I haven't counted.
I'm coming to your house. What do you cook me for dinner?
I'm doing a mean braised rabbit with spätzle.
Whoa.
It is sweet and sour and creamy. I mean, if you're up for it. Otherwise, maybe
Rabbit.
just a nice pork knuckle. You know, like you have to go sometimes a little bit the old. But I just bought a new pizza oven, so there's so many
Looks like
options.
you're staying for a week,
I
mate.
was going to say, lock me in. No, that's it from me. Thank you, Marcus. Those answers are awesome.
Yeah, hey, look, thanks, mate, for joining us. It's been amazing to sort of hear your story and journey, and certainly where you started from, and not being able to speak a word of English to where you are now. It's all kudos to you. You've done an exceptional job, and you continue to do so, and inspire so many, not just here in Melbourne, but in your entire industry. And we really appreciate your time and joining us on Eventful Life.
Thanks so much for having me, and hopefully I will be still a few years in the event in Melbourne.
I'm
and,
sure there's a bit left in.
Yeah, I've no doubt.
And I think we have actually a really bright future. If I see now the people who are coming through, and I think we have a bright future in front of us with events.
On that note, booyah. Great app.
Thanks a lot
Marcus.
for having me.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Marcus, mate.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Ciao.
Thanks for listening to An Eventful Life. And if you like what you hear, don't forget to subscribe to listen to more episodes. I'm Brad.
And I'm Shane, and this podcast is produced by EOS Creative.
See you next time on An Eventful Life.